This is the dramatic story, taken from my own family records, of two families making separate journeys in the mid-19th century to get to Utah, America, in order to escape persecution for their religious beliefs. They started the life-threatening journey by sailing boats, which in those days took 6 weeks. Anne Munford meets Charles Dickens on the Amazon, true story. They continued in wagon trains, mostly walking the 1,300 miles beside the wagons, through the searingly hot plains, then hauling the wagons up the mountains to reach Salt Lake City. Many did not survive, dying of malnutrition, dehydration, and disease. The Munfords-Gunns met up in Parowan, Utah, where Anne Munford married George Gunn. However, on their wedding day, they received orders to leave immediately to clear land and build settlements, which they did. That is, until the Black Hawk Wars started. The Chimborazo, excerpt Chapter 1.
Give me a hand with this, John, please. It is really awkward to get up the gangway of the ship.
Oh, Tom, I cannot be everywhere. I'm trying my best with this lot. I am fair worn out.
John replied, brushing away water from his eyes, which was a mixture of rain and sweat. Nevertheless, John went over to help his brother. John had been busying himself, along with the rest of the family, trying to haul their luggage up that had to be stowed on the ship, the Chimborazo, bound for New York. It was Friday, 14th of April, 1855. It was raining, fairly heavily, and the hundreds of people milling around and trying to get their belongings stowed on board were cold and wet. The long dresses of the women, mainly dark, worsted for travel, were strewn with mud, and their hats and bonnets were dripping with water. The trouser bottoms of the men were soaked and mud-stained. People were shouting, giving orders. Children were crying. They were cold, miserable, and tired, all having travelled to Liverpool from far and wide to start their new lives in America.
The Underwriter, Chapter 8. George Gunn is talking to his wife, Eliza.
Eliza, dear, taking all into account, train, ship, food, accommodation in Liverpool, train the other end, I can pay for you to go, but I won't have enough for the journey myself. Uncle William wants financial assistance too, as he's got 3 people to pay for, and I've offered to help him out. The cost of a passage is about 6 shillings and 10 pence per head, and I have been advised that a clear sum of £5 should be set aside to furnish each family when they land at New York. I've only been earning 12 shillings a week, and most of that has gone on rent and food, and what other things you have felt the necessity to buy.
Oh, George, what are you saying? Do you mean to send me over to a strange country on such a long journey without you by my side? Surely you cannot mean that. Oh, you can be a right one, George. I'd like to batter you black and blue.
And she made a step towards him with her arm in the air. George ducked, but knew she wouldn't hit him. Instead, he grabbed hold of her and kissed her gently.
Well, I am glad that we are nearly there.
This was Uncle William.
Yes, I am feeling quite hungry. There does not seem to be much on board. People are queuing up for any scraps they can get.
This was Aunt Caroline.
I, Eliza, was looking around to see if anyone had any spare food, and had got talking to a nice young man and his family, who I had befriended on the journey, but they were out of food too. I started walking around again and was approached by the chief officer, looking very handsome and smart in his uniform. He introduced himself and I to him. "Excuse me for asking, sir, but do you know where I can possibly get anything to eat? I have not had a bite to eat since yesterday, not even a scrap, and my stomach is growling and I am beginning to feel a bit faint."
I do happen to have a meat pie in my cabin, which you could share with me, Eliza, if you so wish.
A short time afterwards, Eliza appears on deck.
My dear Eliza, what has happened to you? Your dress is torn and your hair is out of your bonnet.
I have been raped, taken bodily, I managed to utter through my tears.
My dear, come and sit down. Who was it? I'll have his guts for garters.
Uncle William pronounced, waving his hands like fists in the air.
The chief officer.
John Smith Company, 1860. Chapter 9. Captain Smith and his crew were inspecting the wagons to make sure they weren't overweight. Most of the travellers were walking as the wagons were loaded up, plus there were many just pulling their belongings in handcarts as they had not been able to afford a wagon. So, it looked like we would be walking all the way to Utah, through the prairies and over the mountains. On 10th August, we stopped for a heavy rainstorm with lightning that struck the ground near some of the wagons. It hit so close, it shook the people and the animals. Eliza was acting strangely during this storm. She had been complaining of her headaches throughout the journey. With the lightning coming down, she suddenly started screaming a barrage of swear words, some of which I had only heard mention of, spoken by the roughest of vagrants. We thought she had gone mad, and people were looking on, watching her in amazement, and mothers were taking their children as far away as possible. George tried to comfort her, but she was having nothing of it, and he ended up having to shake her physically, telling her to pull herself together.
The walk continued, and it was getting hotter each day. I, Emma, had been sweating and my eyes and mouth were dry. I woke up one morning and I just couldn't stand. My legs felt numb and swollen. I tried to get to my knees, but could not get any further, even with the children trying to pull me up. My legs hurt and seemed to weigh heavy. William began rubbing my legs with liniment, which helped a bit as I could feel the heat. So, William got busy rearranging the wagon to find a space where I could sit. I managed to stumble to the wagon, and William lifted me in and wrapped a blanket around me. The company pushed on through South Pass. We had another ferry to cross over the Green River. When they got to the centre of the river, the water started coming into the boat, which frightened the animals, and they began stomping around. This started off a lot of screaming and shouting of orders, and panic was setting in, as it looked like the boat was about to capsize. It looked like everyone, animals and all, were about to be tossed into the water and drowned.
Eliza started playing up again. She'd been reasonably quiet for some time now, sunk into her own thoughts, not really talking to anyone, just walking. George and the rest of us had done what we could to cheer her up, but were getting no response. It was as though she had cut herself off from everyone and was not aware of even where she was, just plodding on. One day, however, she appeared, without her usual bonnet on, and started parading around. It was then that we noticed that she had cut her normally dark, curly hair, not just cut it, but had hacked at it, cutting out great lumps, leaving bald patches near her scalp.
"Do you think I look nice, George?"
She asked quite calmly.
"I could not wash my hair on this fucking horrid journey, so I thought I might as well cut it short. Do you think it suits me?"
The next minute, that smile changed to a grimace, and she ran forward to George with the scissors in her hand, aimed like a dagger. George, thinking on his feet, managed to grab hold of the arm wielding the scissors and twist her arm around her back and held her in a tight grip. She dropped the scissors with a yelp of pain and uttered,
I want to kill you, George. You're the devil in disguise.